Hello again, beautiful sewists. It's me, Georgie, in a floppy red hat, because why not? And why not do some pole dancing at the same time? And apologies to my teenage children if you happen to see this. Here you will see how Bowie inspired this, which inspired this Photoshop of Sarah and my cat Milo. Jo is wearing her version of the Bowie blouse tied around the waist and here tucked in, and features a V-neck, dolman sleeve and gathered cuffs, and looks great whilst making a cup of tea in the countryside. If you'd like to skip forward to the tutorial on how to make this fabulous blouse, you'll find it in the second half of this video. Chapters are in the description below. And for now, let's just get to know both Manaia and the Coromandel Township for a little bit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, they're quite sweet, I think. And whilst wandering down the road, we came upon this sign. It reads, Samuel and Selina James arrived in the district in 1872. Samuel was a prospector, a carpenter, an ironmonger, and the family farmed at Tacoma. Among his many civic and charitable activities, Samuel presented Coromandel with its very own ladies' restroom in 1929. And Jo was very amused at how it could have all conspired.
I would go into town, but there's nowhere to go to the toilet. And it must have just been like, you know, something that was just going on. He's like, for sake.
I absolutely love you. But now there's all the same. If our love song could fly over mountains, could laugh at the ocean, just like the hills, there's no reason to feel all the heart.
And here he is, the man of the hour, David Bowie, looking very humble in this family portrait. I'm sure that his son is supposed to be the centre of attention, but I think someone else might be grabbing it. First port of call, cut out your pieces according to your lay plan and the sewing instructions. Cut your blocks for your neck facings as indicated on your pattern pieces. Cut the fabric 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch larger than your pattern pieces and your fusing 5 mm or 1/4 of an inch. Get your fronts and backs right sides together and sew down the centre front and centre back at 1 cm, 3/8 of an inch, matching your notches. Overlock or zigzag these seams together. Press these seams to one side. Place your fronts and backs right sides together, matching the shoulder seams, and sew at 1 cm, 3/8 of an inch, and overlock or zigzag seams together. Press your seams to the back. Carefully press your fusings onto the wrong side of the fabric. You can use a thin cotton on top to protect it, and then we can cut the patterns out. And mark your centre back. Match the shoulder seams of your facings right sides together, sew at 1 cm 3/8 of an inch, and press out the seams. Overlock or zigzag the outside edge of the facing. Place facing on the neck of the body, right sides facing. Sew at 1 cm 3/8 of an inch around the neck edge. Remember to match your seams, necks and pivot point. At the pivot point, leave your needle down and swivel to continue, being careful that your needle is right in the centre front seam line underneath to give a neat, sharper finish. Now you need to clip to, but not through, this pivot point. Next, clip the seam allowances around the curve of the neck. Press the seam allowances toward the inside and away from the garment. It will end up looking like this. And now you will sew just on the edge of the seam, on top of the seam allowance as shown here. This will help the facing from rolling out. If your fabric is quite thin and see-through like mine, I would then go in and trim the excess seam allowance away. Carefully does it though, as to not nick the main fabric. Turn the facing out the right way and press so that there is no facing showing to the outside. Pin the facing down, matching points and seams. Top stitch the facing by sewing just inside the facing's edge.
Would you mind getting off my sleeves?
Flip sleeves so right sides are together and pin round the curve. Do the same to the other side. Sew sleeves to body at 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch. Overlock or zigzag the seam edges. Press seams toward the sleeve. Now your sleeves are on, fold the top in half, right sides together, matching the sleeves and side seams. Sew each side at 1 cm 3/8 of an inch up until the dot where the sleeve will split. And press these seams open.
But I'm absolutely sane.
Press the seams of the split to either side. Top stitch the split around the edge of the seam allowance as shown at about 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch. After sewing these, change to a long stitch length. At the sleeve ends, starting from the edge of the seam allowance, sew 2 straight lines at 5 mm and then 1 cm, or 1/4 of an inch and 3/8 of an inch. Give yourself a decent amount of thread before sewing. After having sewn both of your sleeves, go ahead and turn the dial back to the normal stitch length, because if you're anything like me, you're bound to forget. By pulling on the top 2 threads, gather and even out the sleeves to the length of your cuff piece. I like to tie the ends off so the gathers don't slip. Get your cuff pieces, press them in half, wrong sides together. Open them up Then refold in the middle and press into quarters. Press in half again.
Nothing we can't shake.
Open up the cuff. Pin it with ends matching to your gathered sleeve. Leave 1 centimetre over each side of the split as shown here. You're going to now sew on this top fold line. Make sure to pull your gathers out straight while sewing.
Smiling. There's nothing more I need.
Now for a neater finish on the next step, press the cuff and seam allowances up and away from the sleeve. To neaten and finish each end of the cuff, fold the cuff in half, right sides together as shown. Sew across the ends to match the end of the garment as indicated here. Once done, turn the cuffs out.
Just like the films. If there's reason.
Once all 4 cuff ends are finished, pin the unsewn side down, making sure to match it to the previously stitched line as shown here. Sew just above on the edge of the cuff to encase everything. Now sew your buttonholes onto the cuff on the front side of the sleeve. Sew your buttons on the other half face up. Get your 2 tie pieces. With right sides together, sew across one end at 1 centimetre, 3/8 of an inch. Press the seam out flat. Now press tie in half, wrong sides together. Open up the tie and fold again to the middle to make quarters, and press. And finally, refold in half again and press to finish. Now I have to make a quick disclaimer here that the instructions in the printed version are slightly different in order to the way I do it here in the video. I would suggest either choosing to go with the video or your sewing instructions. It's a minor difference, but just to keep the things logical, I couldn't go back and do any more videoing. I've got to move on. To close the tie, stitch close down the open edge through all the layers. Cut 2 6 centimetre lengths off each end of the ties. These are going to form your loops. Press loop ends over 1 centimetre, 3/8 of an inch. You can also do this to the ends of the tie and sew these down to finish the tie off. Place the loops on the side seams where indicated on the pattern. Pin and top stitch in place at the top and bottom of the loop. And the final step is the hem. Overlock or zigzag the raw edges. Turn hem under at 1 centimetre, 3/8 of an inch. Don't go any more than this, or otherwise it will be hard to stretch around the curve of the hem. And here you have your light, crisp, white, billowy, bespoke Bowie blouse. Tie it up loosely for a slightly cinched look or tuck it in. There is something quite sensual about this look while being super comfortable. And finally, to finish, a cute Photoshop with Milo the fur baby and Sarah to see if I've achieved a similar feel. And I think I have.